Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks, how to get it just right. Thank you so much for joining us for another interesting and internationally meaningful conversation. Why do we get together every week as a Goldilocks community? Let's talk about that for a moment. We live in a highly polarizing world where everybody is embracing the notion, or most people are embracing the notion, that it's either my way or the highway. I want everything to work out the way exactly I want. I don't want to compromise. And even compromise is a bad word. And at a time where inclusion and sense of belonging is so desperately needed, how can being a part of Goldilocks community help us? And as an entrepreneur, what is the lesson Goldilocks is teaching us? Research shows that each of us can only influence 3 levels from where we are. 3 levels. That means if I'm coming from the extreme right or extreme left, I can only influence 3 levels towards the center. But imagine if I had a circle, a community that allows me and gives me permission to talk and explore and take perspective. Now I can come from that centeredness where I can influence 3 levels to my right, 3 levels to my left, and everybody in that centeredness. The factuality of 3 degrees of influence hasn't changed. Where I stand has changed. And from the change from where I stand magnifies my influence. And businesses succeed because they are brands' ability to influence as many people as possible. The minute we go to an extreme, we are excluding more than half the population of our target market. So think about the smartness of that. Think about the insight Goldilocks is teaching us. And hanging on to that nugget of wisdom, let's get started today. Today, I am so excited to introduce an amazing, amazing woman from Australia, Jane. Jane, welcome. Welcome to Unleash Your Inner Goldilocks. And talk to us a little bit about how you got into the fashion and coaching and the importance of folks embracing their authenticity in every aspect of how they show up. Because people judge us 10 feet away before we open our mouth based on how we look, right? And then as we open our mouth, they judge us in the 10 seconds of what we say. Talk to us about how you are helping your clients do that and why you got into this field.
Yes. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with you. So that is such an honor from quarter of the way around the world. It's a delight to be here. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's a lot to that question. I've always worked with women. I've always dressed women. It is one of my superpowers, and I know that I can make a big impact with women and connect. Ladies describe me as being able to see beyond the veil. So seeing beyond what women can often not articulate about themselves. And what I've noticed after dressing women for, 30 odd years is we often, there's a few things that happen, especially now. I find women, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is almost an apology for their body. So they can have a PhD, they can be the head of their own business, the head of their company, be so achieved such extraordinary things at an academic level, and yet still that self-talk about one's body, on one's insecurities. Someone said something once, whether it's a family member or a partner or your sister or something, and it feeds that part within us, and then that grows and grows and grows and grows. And so, one lady that comes to mind, I remember she came to me 20 something years ago, and she wore head to toe beige. Now, beige is fine if it suits you, but the reason she was wearing it is, don't look at me. Don't, don't draw attention. Let me sort of recede into the background. She barely looked me in the eye when she was talking. And yet she was a facilitator and she was a charming, engaging speaker. So there was this real dichotomy going on with how she saw herself and that self-talk. And I found it fascinating back then. Like, that was a long time ago. And I knew that I could make a difference and really help her show up differently and put together, marry the external, which I know I can help, with the internal dialogue and the complexity of who we are as women, without making her look like everybody else, because that's bland and boring, and we're interesting, unique, amazing women. So really honoring our uniqueness is what is so special. But when we're younger, that we just want to blend in and we want to fit in and we don't want to stand out. And of course, as we age, we not only honor that, we then embrace it and stand tall and proud. So yeah, it's multi-layered, that one, multi-layered.
Yeah, and it's a very deep issue for us women. And so as you're talking, the things that come to my mind, I was born and raised in Sri Lanka, lived and educated in India, and lived in Asia and worked there, then moved to Europe and finally to the United States. And through my entire evolution and journey, everywhere I went, especially in Asia, women are expected to play the traditional role, dress the traditional way. Yes. But the men embrace the Western world. And so I was one of those young people who had, I would say I was very quick and witty. Some might say I was very glib. I don't parse the, labels. But I would always ask men, why aren't you wearing your traditional clothes and going to work? And why are you making women wear? I personally love wearing my traditional clothes. Yes. But when you are forced to wear, then women want to rebel against it, because why do you have one rule for me, one rule for us, right? For you. And then fast forward, coming into the world of work. I was a 21-year-old finance leader in a man's world, and I've been in it for 33 years. Men wear blue and black and gray suits. Yes, I don't wear those colors. In my culture, we wear black when somebody dies. So I am always the brightly dressed person. In the middle of winter, I have bright yellows and pinks and greens and purples. And over time, people have learned to appreciate it. When they need a little bit of sunshine, they come to me, because my clothes reflect my personality. But most women won't break that, because in their mind, in order to function and succeed in a man's world, they have to somehow suppress their feminine qualities, the feminine nature. And so not only appearance-wise, they lose their femininity, the psychological, psychographic profile, they lose their femininity and they become very task and outcome oriented. And I think that's a space where you make a huge difference based on what you're talking. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and the importance of women understanding and balancing their inner femininity? Yes, we have masculinity, but we also have femininity. Don't suppress the one thing that makes us us.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful question. You're so engaging to listen to, by the way. It's interesting having, so I've done lots of things in the fashion industry, and I could relate to that of, in the doing, we have to meet certain KPIs and we have to respond to the stakeholders and all that kind of thing. And it's a very doing, action orientated, using all of our the masculine part of who we are. And I actually got really sick about 6 years ago. And so I was stopped in my tracks, and I knew it took a few years to sort of find the new version of me. And what I did do was I struggled with bringing in the masculine and the feminine side, not only of me, but within business, and really, really not only honoring that, but really owning it and standing firm. And of course, now anything that you do, I do, so my website, any interviews, anything that is me and my brand, it is a much more balanced view, a much more balanced perspective of masculine and feminine energy. And I wholeheartedly embody that now in daily practices. And so what often women come to me for, they come to me for fashion and styling, but what they receive is support and little suggestions and living by example and leadership of a more balanced masculine and feminine way of being, and then integrating that into business. And there are, that infiltrates every part of who I am. And I think we're in this stage at this time in our lives right now, which is actually very exciting, where more and more of us are becoming not only aware, because we know the power of, our intuition, our connectedness with females, we know we rise together. We know we are about relationships and all of these wonderful sides to our femininity. We also know sometimes it's about taking action and being strategic and being in the doing, but we're owning that end. And I feel like there's this really wonderful time right now where things are coming to the fore and we're shaking things up and proudly, bravely standing in that and owning that more, which is amazing. And this is what needs to happen, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Times are changing for the better,
Yes,
right?
they are. Yes.
And what's coming up for me is when we dress impeccably and we show up authentically, people listen to what we have to say.
Yes.
If we dress provocatively, people are thinking about what they can get from us, right? And if we dress shabbily, people are focused on, oh my God, why is she not put together? If she's not put together, can she hold things together?
Absolutely.
For me, can she serve me and our cause at hand?
Yes.
Can you build on that and the importance of women understanding? I always jokingly tell my students as a professor, when you present yourself and present a pitch to a client, remember one important thing. It needs to be like a lady's skirt, operating word being lady. It needs to be long enough to cover the essentials, short enough to pique the curiosity. Nothing more, nothing less, right? So how you dress, how you present, all of that needs to come together authentically. So talk about that, because sometimes women go overboard and become more provocative.
Yeah. I suppose the way I view fashion is, my approach is teaching you all about you, as opposed to, this is in fashion this season, and these are the tones, these are the shapes, this is the feel and the aesthetic. I flip it on its head and say, okay, let me teach you about your proportions, your the balance within your body, your beautiful colorings, and then I would dig deep and I would find out, okay, so this is where you are now, this is where you aspire to be, this is, what are your goals? And I teach you how to dress like this lady. So say with your students, if you're showing up looking like a student and you're going to pitch and you're going to, do whatever, you need to dress like this person, because you are the authority and you want us to take notice of you. You know, I was asked, I was on a call and this particular lady asked me, she said, Jane, does it really matter what I look like? You know, I'm really good at what I do. I've got 20 odd years experience. And I said, okay, let me tell you what I see. She came on the call and her hair was wet, like she'd just got out of the shower. And she had on like a little, like a gym, going to exercise sort of top, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. And I said, and she's in sort of the finance field. And I said, look, what you need to consider is, for me, as a prospective client or possible client, this is our shop window. This is the representation of your brand, whether you are in your own business or you work for someone else, like it doesn't matter. And for you, so you have a moment for me to make a judgment, and we'd love to say we don't judge because we know we're not supposed to judge, but we do. And so you have a moment to instill faith in me, for me to possibly engage your services for not only me, but my family and our money. And you don't instill any faith in me because you don't look like you care. You don't look like you know what you're doing. And she said, oh, and I said, well, if we were meeting in person, would you wear that? And she said, well, no. And I said, well, what's the difference? It's not just about your credibility. It is the whole package, and that's what we need to consider. And I completely agree. It's not about showing your body. Like, you don't have to be covered head to toe, but I think you can do it in a way that is secondary. You know, I'm looking, when I'm looking at women, I'm looking at harmony. So I'm looking, like for you, I love you in color. It works with not only your personality and your vibrancy and your effervescence, but it also works with your colorings and really making the most of what you've been given. And I think it's that uniqueness, certainly, that I like to work with women and really elevate who you are as an individual, so that we don't all look the same. We don't all end up in the same black, grey, or, you know, charcoal uniform.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
So when you are working with women, Jane, are you working with only women in Australia? Are you working with women all over the world? And how are you balancing the cultural differences and the cultural mindset of social and the way women approach their entire, and to me, it's not just dressing, right? It's the attitude, it's the facial expressions, it's the entire demeanor. And so it's the sense of being for me, right? How are women being? And from that being, can they truly authentically make the impact that they are trying to make? Sometimes even as mothers, I know children who don't want mothers to come to school to pick them up because they are embarrassed the way that mothers are dressed.
Oh, wow. Wow. You know, I think it's very easy as women to lose our way with our style. So whether you're a mother, or it sort of doesn't matter, you know, whether, because we tend to put everyone else first in the food chain. You know, everyone else gets the money and the energy and the focus, and so it's very easy to lose our way. And then you throw in midlife hormone changes and things and body changes, and it's, you sort of wake up one day and it can be tricky to know sort of how to do our hair, our face, our makeup, our shapes. You know, I find some ladies often resort back to when they were single. They're still doing their makeup in the way they did when they first met their partner or pre-children, because they were feeling really good about themselves at that point. And, you know, we do need to keep up with, it's the balance of keeping up the times a little bit. That can, you know, that can date us. It just can. And it's finding that, you know, I don't want to look 30. I want to look like who I am right now, but I also don't want to look 20 years older. So it's finding that sweet spot. In terms of working with women, so I've always known I wanted to take my services online and global, and I did that well before the last few years of our lives. And so I worked very hard on creating an offering that gave a really impactful experience for the end user, considering we're not standing together and it's a tactile, you know, industry. But I think because I've been doing it forever, that's how I could do it. I think if I was green, it would be really challenging. So now I work with women globally, and I have done for a number of years, and that's amazing. It's amazing. You know, I had a lady the other day and she said, I'm going to the House of Commons shortly. I really need your help. You know, it's very conservative and she's got a lot of spunk to her. And so we've found that balance there. So the global aspect works beautifully. And in terms of the cultural, like, appropriation and all that kind of thing, I think it's there's a few elements there. One, I give you tools, so whether you're, in terms of your body shape and your colorings, that's irrelevant to wherever you come from. And then I would tailor that and really get to know who you are, and you can explain and help me understand what feels comfortable for you, what you want to honor, and how you identify, and perhaps where you want to show up more and honor more. Having said that too, I'm lucky I've traveled a lot of the world, so I'm not green sitting in a naive little place here. I'm lucky enough to have traveled a lot, so I've seen a lot of cultures and can like to think I'm pretty open-minded and respectful, and always willing to learn. There's always things I don't know. So yeah, so I think it's principles, and then it's tailoring to each woman's uniqueness, which we do anyway, because we're all different and we're all a lovely melting pot of experiences and lifestyles and all that we bring. That's the wonderful part about women. We are this big, beautiful, wonderful conglomeration of all those things.
Absolutely. And we are all differently beautiful, right? So there is something unique and truly magnetic about every woman in a different way. And to me, that is where what you do becomes a joyful experience, because you show them how they can uniquely shine in their own way, just in the way they present themselves.
Just the way they are. You're right. And, there is something to me, and this is what makes my heart sing, when you really learn more about yourself, which is where I come in, you sit stronger and more powerful within your own sense of self and power. And when you do that, you share your message in your circles, your 3 levels and power of influence you mentioned earlier, and you own that space. There is something really powerful with a woman walking on stage or whatever we're doing, really, really grounded and connected. And then the impact you have on those around you, whether it is your family, our families, your family, your partners, your relationships, your communities, and your clients and beyond, the ripple effect is massive when we know ourselves even more. And I describe it as we shine our light even more brightly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have always traditionally embraced my own culture, and I wear my saris and my shalwars and my gargar cholis to work.
Great.
Whether it was
Yes.
at AT&T, whether it was at AIN, I also had the privilege of being the senior finance person in the room. So for me, it felt like if I can show up authentically, I'm giving everybody else permission to do the same. And a lot of times when women get to the top, they show up more like the men around themselves, instead of giving permission to the younger women and other women who are rising up the ranks to embrace their own uniqueness. And I'm constantly told, thank you so much for giving us permission and showing us it's okay. And sometimes when we are planning a meeting or when I was going on an outing, and I always ask the guys, so what kind of place is this? And what kind of attire is acceptable? And they would always jokingly say, yes, you can wear a crown. And I remind them, I'm a goddess, so you can bring me flowers, right?
I love that.
So it also allows me to kind of break that, women and girls are princesses and queens. No, we're goddesses. We have a place at the altar, at the boardroom, at that table. And it allows me to interject my humor along with the way I dress and the way I show up. And it's not threatening to the men because it's all done in play, right? So what do you have for women to kind of bring men into this world of embracing uniqueness and not expecting women to fit a stereotype that they've put as a dress code on their manual?
Yes. I think really it is, there's a security, there's a power in your sense of security within yourself. So when I think it really comes back to understanding yourself more and more, which is why I suppose my approach has always been education with styling, as opposed to traditional styling, which there's simply nothing wrong with it, of course, is I would take you out and I would say, this, and this suits you. My approach is the complete opposite, where I would say, okay, I want to teach you why this works on you and give you the why, the reasons why, and educate you. And I know big picture that what that actually does is that enables you to fly, as opposed to make you reliant on me, which I would probably make more money if I made you completely reliant on me. But actually it goes against what I believe. What I believe empowering women is giving you the tools. Now, I think when you have the tools, to me, there is nothing more powerful and impressive as someone who really, she isn't trying to please everyone and trying to morph into what she thinks people need her to be in a boardroom or wherever. When you really own who you are and you know who you are, that is an impressive woman, and that is impressive authority. So I think there's a few elements. I think we need to lead and honor exactly what you've said for the younger generations. They watch us all the time. And I'd like to think I'm that lady who I would have loved to have had influenced me, the 20-year-old Jane. So that, and also I think there's many men who are a bit lost and aren't sure what they're supposed to say, what they're supposed to do. And so I think we need to in turn lead by example for them as well.
Beautifully said. I would love to open this up for a conversation. We have Dr. Nandini Menon and Robin here. So go ahead, ladies. Any questions you have for us?
You go ahead. Hi. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Hi, Nandini Menon here. I'm an ophthalmologist in the US. And I have a unique perspective, I think, because of the medical field. And I just wanted to say that sometimes biases work both ways. And men also have certain rules that they have to follow, like coming from Asia and working here. I remember my male colleagues in Asia being really upset they have to wear a suit and tie in the summer because that's what physicians are expected to wear. And it's like, 102 degrees outside and we don't have air conditioning sometimes. And we still have to be dressed because that's the decorum as a physician. You have to have your white coat and your tie. And honestly, and some of that standing up as an attending, as a senior person and changing the culture and making people feel like, you don't have to wear the tie and you don't have to wear, the thick suit. You can wear a lighter material, is good. So that's the male aspect of it. And then the women, we're taught that we have to have, I always have this song that comes in my head, there's a song that goes, something about a woman with a short skirt and a long jacket, that song. And we're not supposed to do that. Literally, you would get dinged if your white coat was longer than your skirt.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past. And so growing up as a medical student, that was ingrained. No tattoos, no hair dye, no nothing. You have to be this perfect lady. So when Dr. Henry says, about teaching her staff, her students, about a lady skirt, for me, it's kind of not concerning, but it kind of brings up this bias because for me, it's a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah, it is.
And in 2013, telling a woman to wear a skirt longer than her jacket was crazy. And now, we don't do that anymore. Our staff are able to show tattoos, dye their hair. If you dye your hair color, it had to be in a natural color. You couldn't come in like Dr. Kass, your purple hair would be dinged.
Yeah.
Because it's not a natural color. So I think we've come really far. And I think sometimes within ourselves, we also have to change our biases. I know I have had to relearn a lot of things when progress comes into my clinic and I'm looking at my office manager walking in with a skirt shorter than her long jacket. And I'm like, and then I'm like, it's okay. Women can dress any way we want now. If she's not going to get dinged by somebody.
Yeah. It's funny. Thank you for your thoughts and perspective. I appreciate that so much. I think it's so interesting, isn't it? Like even with you mentioning tattoos. So, in our lifetime with all of us here, that has changed so much, hasn't it? In the last sort of say 20 years. I remember certainly here in Australia, even police, so anyone in that kind of level of authority, they weren't to have tattoos showing at all. So if they had any, it was above their uniforms. And of course now, like all areas, many are covered. Many have sleeves and it's just different. So I think it is moving with the times and you look at super conservative industries like law, like medicine, where it was in very elite kind of areas where it was super conservative, and it is, and there's something charming about that. There really is. But then it's about embracing the new too. Yeah, it's a complicated issue, really, isn't it?
Mhm.
It is.
And it,
Yeah,
and it changes profession to profession, right? For a medical
correct.
professional, you're judging the length of a skirt based on the length of the coat. But in a business setting, if women are coming to work in micro minis and men
Yeah.
are taking bets on what kind of underwear does this woman have any given day, and they're all sending social media messages and taking pictures surreptitiously, then that becomes a very negative, salacious environment in a
Of
bank
course.
or an insurance company or even a classroom if the teacher comes that way, right? So in my mindset, when your presentation or your skirt is long enough to cover the essentials, meaning modesty is primary, because you don't
Yeah.
want to be showing your
Yeah.
bits and pieces, right? But
Yeah.
short enough to pique the curiosity. Don't dress up like a nun. You're not a nun, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with you. I just want to say, don't put us medical students on a pedestal. There were a lot of surreptitious issues going on as well. Everybody thinks about what color underwear, or if you are wearing one. I mean, that's not unique to finance. That's a human
Yes.
nature thing.
Yes, of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah, but
Go ahead.
sorry.
This is a great conversation. In fact, I was thinking about Nandini, that she comes in her scrubs or whatever. Yeah, because I've seen you in scrubs before. And instantly, even though those are casual, because that's a uniform of authority and competence and respect and all that. So what comes to my mind is in all of this, the scripture, be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. And so to me, that is, we try not to judge other people, be harmless as a dove, try not to judge other people, look at them as human beings. But also wise as a serpent is that I know I will be judged. And I have on my pen, someone said, Penn State? No, University of Pennsylvania. There's a difference at any rate. And I totally agree, like with Cass's commentary about, in business, because most of my presentations are in the business world, in the finance world. Yeah. And so what I now do is, if I'm doing a major presentation, I have a suit that is very, very tailored and it's bright red. And so I add some pearls, maybe some earrings, but I get noticed. So when I, go up on the stage or go up to the front of the room, anywhere in the room, I guess I'm going to be noticed. Very tailored, but yet in a color. And I remember when I left the business world to be a stay-at-home mom for many years, and I have a distinct memory of being in my car driving through downtown LA. I had my kids in the car, at least one of my kids in the car, and I don't know what I was wearing, but I saw all these women walking across the street in their gray suit and their black suit and their blue suit, looking just like the men. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I am so glad I don't have to wear that. Well, in reality, I didn't have to wear it anyway. But just this notion that we can bring something else to the table while still being while still being aware of the notion that you are being judged, and is what you're wearing matching what you're trying to accomplish. And so I absolutely love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. It's really powerful.
Thank you, Robin. I think also what I would add in there, and I appreciate, thank you so much for your contribution, is one of the things that I'm always looking for is harmony. So particularly sort of, this bit is harmony with color, because to me, I'm looking for your lovely face to be number one and the color number two. So that when you walk in the room or walk in to your meeting or on stage or lecturing or whatever you're doing, that we're one is not overpowering the other, and we're making the very most of what you've been blessed with. Because when you're working with your undertones and your colorings and your, the depth of your colorings and your contrast of color and all these different things that I'm looking for, I want that to really work for you. And, one of the things I'm looking for is ease and effortlessness, so that, we can pop it on, like, for me, it's midnight here. So I've popped on a color that I know is very complimentary against my eyes. You see my eyes, and it's soft against my skin, and turns back the clock. That's all nice things, but it doesn't overpower who I am. And I look at, as you've just said, Robin, where lots and lots of ladies wear, head to toe black, head to toe charcoal, head to toe navy. It's fine if it suits you, but if it doesn't suit you, it drains your color and you look tired. So when I wear black, without a doubt, people say to me, "Oh, you're not well today. Oh, you look really tired." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm good." And so I'd rather teach you how to work with that, so that then people say, "Oh, gosh, you look gorgeous today." Now, I know that's skin deep. I know that. But I also know when you get those compliments, as long as they're sincere, I then strut on into the room because I'm feeling, it's sort of layering on top of how I already felt that day. And if I'm a little bit nervous with something I've got to do, I sort of, it's that extra little bit of confidence that makes me smile. And then I go and do what I'm here to do. So it's compounding. And I think extra little bit of confidence, extra little bit of layering on our self-worth is a good thing.
That is a beautiful note to bring this conversation to a close. I would love for us to build on this and do something tangible. And I have a few ideas in my head. Excellent. So I will reach out to you on that, Jane. But as we bring this to a close, I deeply appreciate your time and your insight and the effortless way you are helping women find their true sense of being, right? It's not just the style, it's a sense of being. And when they show up in their authentic being, then everything they do falls into place. Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, this is for everybody, right? Yes. Find that right space for you. Find the right way that you can show up in your authenticity, so that how you look, how you comport yourself, what you say, how you say, all of that resonates. And when they all resonate, you automatically exude authenticity. And it's from that authentic self that you drive your influence and therefore build your success. Reach out to Jane if you have any questions, and it is with great honor that we thank our live audience and our guest, and we remind all of you, don't apologize for the gifts you were given. No. Embrace them, amplify them, and authentically embrace them, and strut into a room with your head held high. Absolutely. Remember, you are 10 feet tall. It's only a state of mind. I'm 5'2", and I always tell myself I am 10 feet tall when I walk into a room, because that automatically changes your stature, changes the way your shoulders are held, your head is held. And that is where your true power comes from your authenticity and what you believe about you from the inside out. So my wish for all of you as we bring this to a close is find that place of authenticity, embrace your power, and that from that place of power, then live your purpose so that your dreams can be for true your reality.